Today we're going to talk about the endocrine system in its synthesis, action of thyroid hormones, and control of thyroid function. So what are thyroid hormones? Basically, hormones that are produced by the thyroid gland, which have diverse effects throughout the human body. The thyroid gland produces two iodine-containing molecules of physiological importance such as thyroxine and triiodothyronine. Thyroxine is generally converted to triiodothyronine by enzymes known as dionysis in target cells. T4 is the major secretory product of the thyroid, and the total T4 concentration are higher in the blood. However, T3 is the major thyroid hormone. The thyroid gland is a bilobe structure that sits within the neck, straddling the trachea. The thyroid gland is composed of numerous follicles, each made up of an enclosed sphere of highly specialized cells surrounding a core containing a protein-rich material called colloid. So the synthesis of a thyroid hormones, which step 1 is synthesis begins when circulating iodine is co-transported with sodium ions across the follicular cell plasma membrane. Iodine cannot diffuse back into the interstitial fluid once it is in the cell. This is called iodide trapping. The step 2 is that the trapped negatively charged iodide ions diffuse down their electrical and concentrated gradient to the luminal border of the follicular cells. The step 3 is that the colloid of the follicles contains large amount of protein called thyroglobulin. The iodine that diffuses to the colloid is rapidly oxidized at the hormonal surface of the follicular cells to the iodine-free radicals. The free radicals are then attached to the phenolic rings of the tyrosine molecules within the amino acid structure of Tg. So we're going to talk about the thyroid peroxidase, the enzyme responsible for oxidizing iodides and attaching them to tyrosine and thyroglobulins in the colloid. Thyroglobulin and thyroid peroxidase are synthesized by follicular cells. Iodines can be added either of two positions on a given tyrosine within a thyroglobulin. What about monoiodotyrosine? What is that? It is a tyrosine with one iodide attached. What about diiodotyrosine? It's these two. It is a tyrosine with two iodines attached. So the step 4 of the synthesis is that the phenolic ring of either a molecule of DIT or MIT are removed from the remainder of its tyrosine and is coupled with another DIT on the thyroglobulin molecule, which is the reaction mediated by the thyroid peroxidase. If two DIT molecules are coupled, the results in tyrosine. If one DIT and one MIT are coupled, the result is T3. Step 5 is that when thyroid hormone is needed in the blood, extension of the colloid-facing membrane of the follicular cells engulf proportion of the colloid with the iodinated thyroglobulin by endocytosis. The step 6 is that the thyroglobulin with its coupled MITs and DITs is brought into contact with lysosomes in the cell interior. Then step 7, the last steps, is that proteolysis of thyroglobulin releases T3 and T4, which then diffuses out of the follicular cells into the interstitial fluid and from there back into the blood. So, what are the control of thyroid function? Essentially, all of the action of the follicular cells are stimulated by thyroid-stimulating hormone, or TSH, which is stimulated by thyrotropin-releasing hormone. The basic control mechanism of TSH production is the negative feedback action of thyroid hormone on the anterior pituitary and to the lesser extent of the hypothalamus. TSH not only stimulates T3 and T4 production, but it also increases protein synthesis in follicular cells, increases DNA replication and cell division, increases the amount of rough endoplasmic reticulum and other cellular machinery required by follicular cells for protein synthesis. When thyroid-stimulating hormone levels exceed normalcy in the thyroid cell, it undergoes hypertrophy. This causes the cell to increase in size. Enlarged thyroid gland from any cause is called a goiter. So, TSH, TRH, thyroid hormone sequence. First, it goes to the neural input. Then, the hypothalamus TRH secretion increases. Then, the plasma TRH or in hypothalamo-pituitary portal vessel increases. Then, the anterior pituitary or TSH secretion increases, and then the plasma TSH increase also. Then after that plasma TSH increases, the thyroid hormone, which is T3 T4 secretion, increases. Then the plasma thyroid hormone increases. Then the target cells for thyroid hormone T4 converted to T3 responds to increased T3. Thyroid hormone receptors are present in the nuclei of most cells of the body, unlike receptors for many other hormones, whose distribution is more limited. Thus, the actions of T3 and T4 are widespread and may affect many organs and tissues. There are three main actions of thyroid hormones, which is the metabolic action, permissive action, and growth and development. First, we must discuss the metabolic actions. Thyroid hormones have several effects on carbohydrates and lipid metabolism, although not to the extent of other hormones, like insulin. However, thyroid hormone stimulates carbohydrates absorption from the small intestine and increases fatty acid and release from the adipocytes. These actions provide energy to maintain metabolic rate at a high level and are consistent with one of the major actions of thyroid hormone, which is to stimulate the activity of sodium, potassium, and ATPases throughout the body. ATP is consumed by sodium, potassium, and ATPases at the high rate due to thyroid hormone activation. The cellular stores of ATP must be maintained by increased metabolism of fuels. The calorigenic action of thyroid hormone represents a significant fraction of the total heat produced each day in a typical human. The permissive action is that many of the actions of thyroid hormones are attributable to its permissive effects on catecholamines. The thyroid hormones upregulates beta-adrenergic receptors in many tissues such as heart, nervous system, which a nervous system is the increased level of thyroid hormone potentiates the action of the catecholamines, even though the catecholamines are within normal level. So the growth and development, thyroid hormone is needed for normal production of growth hormone. Therefore, in the absence of thyroid hormone, growth in children is decreases. Thyroid hormone is one of the most important developmental hormones for the nervous system. Absence of thyroid hormone during fetal life results in poorly developed nervous system and a form of mental retardation called cretinism. And that's the end of the thyroid hormone stimulating and its function.